All right, this is just a brief introduction. What follows is a very long video of my experiences assembling an electric bike. I guess it's EBikeBC.com electric bike kit. It was the Dolphin D50 style kit, and I have basically a 700C based sort of a road bike that I had purchased for I think around $700 or whatever. Anyway, talked to the nice staff on their chat line on their website about what kind of a motor and kit that I should get, and they recommended a Dolphin D50 style battery pack and 500 watt just because of my size motor. I'm 6'3", basically 210 pounds, so not a small guy. So they recommended this kit, and after much back and forth, I ordered the thing, and what follows is trials and tribulations of how I finally got it together, and I must say up front that I'm a very satisfied customer so far. I'm one day into one commute in, but it was a rather fun commute, and I'm rather enjoying it. So we'll look at another review down the line for a post sort of operations 6 months down the road or whatever. I might do another review. So what follows is how I did it. So enjoy. Now it is the date. It's January 30th, 2017. That's the day I received my kit in the mail. We're on the west coast of British Columbia, so weather isn't as much of a factor in the rest of, like it is in the rest of Canada. So we have a long riding season ahead of us. Weather has actually turned from very cold in December to a little more reasonable here in January. So I expect I'll be riding the bike right away as soon as I get it retrofitted and iron out all the bugs and figure it out. So we'll give it a shot for tonight and see how long this is going to take me. They say in some of the advertisements that you can do it in an hour. I'm betting it's going to take a little bit longer just because I'm not much of a bike guy. So I don't know all the gizzards and parts and pieces and how to do things. So I'll be looking things up on the internet, especially how to do the disc brakes and stuff. Adjusting the calipers and all that stuff. So there you have it. Let's get on with the show. There's the box it came in. It's not very heavy. It's quite large. Obviously, it's got to fit the full-up wheel that came with it and all the electronics and the battery. I ordered it, and it comes with 2-day delivery, free shipping in Canada and the States, I believe. But it took, instead of 2 days, so I ordered it, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and I was expecting to get it by Friday, but it never actually arrived till Monday. So I'm not sure what's going on with Canada Post. Can't blame EBikeBC for that. That's just a Canada Post thing. Maybe they should go on strike more often, because you really can't tell the difference of whether they're on strike or not. Anyway, that's my little rant. So let's have a look here. Wow. There we go. Looks like they kind of just shoved everything in. Didn't look like they actually packed it too nicely. But anyway, it looks like it came in one piece. So there you have it. Lots of styrofoam. I think that's supposed to actually be on the corners and properly packed, but for some reason it doesn't. Maybe it's because of this particular wheel size doesn't fit properly. But they did stuff lots in there, so I don't suspect there's any damage. So there's the wheel hub, the motor and the hub, and the wiring that goes with it. And then we have the little controller pouch that's in here. And let's open up these other boxes here. Alright, so what's really nifty about this is that's the Dolphin battery pack and the rack on it, obviously. So I think that just pops out and it slides out of the rack. But down here is where you actually, so the power or the controller wires come out of the side and the bottom here. Here is the charger, and where the charger plugs in is just this little hole here, which has got a waterproof little chummy along it so to prevent water leaking in when you're out biking. And the similar one for a USB port, so if you have a phone that you need to charge, or you have a USB light or something like that, you could actually run it straight off the battery pack, which is kind of cool. Really like that. Wasn't aware that had that. So little rubber thing here, I'm not sure what that is, but we'll read in the manual. So plug it in and we'll get the thing charging. And there you see the red, and my understanding is once it's fully charged it will go green, and then we'll know that we've got a full charge on the pack. So we'll leave that hooked up, and let's see, it's 10 to 5, so we'll see how long it charges, but I don't know what the level of charge is on it anyway, so we'll have to go through a couple of cycles before we figure out how long it takes to charge this thing up. Alright, so here's the last box, and in it we have all of the cable ties and cables that are necessary to hook this thing up. We have the actual controller, which goes into that controller bag that I showed you earlier. Here's all the connections, all the wires, the throttle. Looks like it's a little bit of a spring-loaded throttle, which is kind of a cool thing. Here are your brake sensors, so that'll be the fixed end of the brake, and then you'll have a little magnet that goes onto the movable part of your brake to determine whether the brake is activated or not, and whether to shut the motor off or not. And then we have the, looks like the control display, LED display or LCD display, I'm not sure which it is, I think it's the LCD, with the control button that goes on your handlebars, all plugged in, and the pass sensor right there, and a bunch of cable wraps to make your cabling neat and tidy, and of course some inserts for the handlebar accessories, spacer inserts. We have what looks like to be, well, these are your magnet sensors for the brakes, it looks like. And not sure what that little fancy dancy things might have to do with the path sensor or something on your handlebar, not sure yet. We'll have to read the instructions. Instructions didn't come in the box, but they did tell me that they are online, so what I've done is taken them and printed them out. Had a good little read through just to make sure everything is understood, and the next thing we'll do is bring in the bike and start monkeying with it. And the last thing that I found was the keys. That was in the big box. It was tucked in amongst all the styrofoam. So the key obviously goes for the battery pack, and it unlocks the battery pack so you can remove it, as well as allows you to turn it on. That's my understanding. So there you have it. That's all the parts. There you have the bicycle I'm putting this on. It's not a very pricey bike. I think I paid, with trade-in and everything, about $600, because I traded in an old mountain bike that they gave me $100 credit. So you're talking about a $700 bike. That's Canadian. And but it does have the disc brakes instead of the normal hub brakes, or whatever you want to call them, which is good. So obviously we need to transfer the disc onto the new one. We actually have to take the tires, and I've been riding in quite snotty weather, so it's a bit dirty, so I'm going to wipe it down before I start installing things. And we'll take the tire off this, put it onto the new hub here, and have to disconnect the brakes. One of the sad things is I'm going to have to lose my water bottle. Not a big deal because I didn't use it that much. And I won't have to mess with my little saddle bag carrier because I don't have a because I don't have a rim or whatever, a mud guard, I guess. I made this on my bike rack because I also have saddlebags that go on that, and that just provides a dirt shield from my saddlebags. So the model, as I mentioned, is a KHS Urban X-Cape, X-C-A-P-E, which you can find online. There's all full specs on this model, and that's what I sent along, and that's why they recommended the particular kit that I have. You'll see that the gearing system here has an integrated both gearing and brake system, so you don't want to have the independent brake levers come with it, because then of course that would negate your gear shifting as well. So we'll have to figure out how the brake lever is, or the brake sensors are going to go on, probably along here, and then just put the magnet sort of in this area, because it's kind of curved here, so you want to have, you know, a good flat surface to put the double-sided tape on. And then you'll see the other brake is very similar. So that's one of the little modifications. Or we can put it on the back side, because it looks like it's a little flat on the back. It's quite flat here too, so we'll dry fit it a few times and come up with the best location for the brake sensor. So, part that I didn't show, I just opened up this other tiny box that was in the other box, and that's the LCD. So the model number is a KT-LCD3 e-bike display. There's a sort of a quick install guide, and then I've got the full manual out in the living room, which is about a 20-some page affair that explains all of the gizzards. And there's your handlebar install. So one of the things I had to do, obviously, is take off my mirror from the handlebars, and I'll probably take off my light and my little dinger bell. Well, I may not have to take those off because they're fixed in pretty good. And we'll flip it upside down and get to the front wheel. Down, and the good thing about the front wheel here is it's got this quick release lever, so I can quickly release that off and take it off. There you have it. I've taken the tire off of the original wheel on the bike, which you can see off on the left here, and put the new tire and tube onto the new hub that I got from EBikeBC. Got the directions right. You got to make sure all of your tire is in the right direction, as well as the motor. That comes in the instructions, and there's only one way to really go on the fork, so you can't really get that one backwards. And then the next thing you do, I've taken this off of there, and the next thing I do is put it onto there, and then we'll mate it up to the forks and see how it fits. Hopefully it'll fit okay. Apparently, if it's too tight in here, the instructions say that you've got to file this down a couple of layers of paint in order to get the proper width if it's too tight, because you don't want to try and crack the forks if you try and spread it too much. So I got a little bit of a grinder. I can always grind it down if need be, but we'll try it first. Maybe it's the right size. And I haven't had to adjust this yet. I don't know how to adjust these yet, but I'll figure that out. So on to the next phase. Alright, I ran into my first major glitch, and it looks like the spacer that's here was on the outside, and when I put it in the way it came with the wheel, these bolts here on the disc were actually rubbing on the fork down tube. So the only way I can get them to stand off the fork down tube is by reversing the spacer behind the keyed O-ring, but then this bolt, because this thing isn't totally flat, torques on it. So I think there's supposed to be a second spacer with this thing, but it doesn't seem to have one. So I'm not sure if that's supposed to come with one or if I've got it reversed, but if I do reverse it the way the wheel actually came, there's no way that wheel is going to spin, because these screws that are on the caliper wheel, or sorry, on the disc wheel, rub on the inside of the down tube. So I'm kind of stuck. So I'll give the folks a call on the little online chat thing and see if I can sort this thing out. But other than that, changing the wheels wasn't a problem. Getting everything fitted and put on the disc wasn't a problem, and it's just getting the wheel to freely rotate. I think if I had another, I don't know, sort of a O-ring or a spacer to put in between here so that this doesn't pinch on the bolt, then we might have some progress. Alright, a little bit of an update. It looks like we sorted out the bolt side. Apparently there's a spacer that's in behind the disc brake here, the brake disc, and what that was doing is it was pushing it out and making the bolt head stick out a little higher, and it was rubbing on the down tube of the forks. But what it hasn't done is it hasn't sorted out this side, because as you can see, it still rubs right on the fork. So I'm not sure what to do with that, whether I'm supposed to put another spacer in there or what. Anyway, you can see it does rub on that one side, and it fits nicely. I mean, you can see the tolerance is very, very fine, but it is actually out of the way of the fork down tube, where these bolts now just clear the fork. So that side is good, but this side you can see it clearly, there is no space. It actually rubs on the motor hub. So I don't know if I'm supposed to put some sort of spacer in there or what in order to get that working. We'll see. We'll keep you posted. Alright, after playing with some spacers, I had to make a few handmade spacers, but the customer service guys are going to send me some proper ones so that I can properly fit it. What I ended up doing was I bored out a couple of washers using a titanium bit so that it would fit underneath the lip of this fork. I don't know the terminology, but the fork chummy here that sticks out. So now that the bolt presses properly onto the axle, and on this side the bolts are now free of the down tube. If you can see there, nothing's rubbing. The brake is probably a little bit out of tolerance. I'm not really swept up on the brakes. I did watch a video, and I'm trying to get the perfect gap here for the brake, but you can see there's still a little bit of friction there. It's not rubbing. Well, maybe just a little bit. Anyway, we'll adjust that properly once I get everything going here. And now we can proceed on with the rest of it, putting on the electronic bits, all the cabling, and see how this goes. It's now 11:25, and I'm doubting very much I'll get this thing going by tomorrow, so I may be commuting by car, but at least I'm part way there, and I can play with this again a little bit more tomorrow night, and hopefully I'll be commuting on Wednesday morning. So let's press on. Okay, now that I got the hub sorted out, and it looks like it's freewheeling pretty good, next order of business is to start attaching all the wiring and harnesses and everything. So one of the things I noted is I got some of the hardware here for, I believe, what is the case that the controller goes in, that you can see here on the ground. I got this hardware, and it looks like it's got these screw mount holes, but no screws. So I have no idea looks like a hex nut is supposed to go in there, and I don't have a little screw bag to put a screw in there. So I'm not sure how that mounts. I'm going to have to look at the manual here. And I've looked at all my accessory bags, and there's no other accessory bags that have any kind of screw attachments. As you can see, I've mounted the battery holder onto the bottle rack. Good thing I had a bottle rack on here because I had screws, because again there was no screws for that, so if that would have been empty I would have been sunk without having the proper screws. I'm just hoping that it's going to be, well, it is because I've already mounted it. These screws sit quite proud of the rail here, so I was worried that the battery underside would snag on those, but it seems to be okay now. So I've got some of this hardware mounted. I've got the LCD screen mounted. I went center just because I don't have a lot of handlebar space here. Got the control unit here, and then I've also taken the grip off and my throttle. So of course we've got all the wires loose. Now one of the things that I'm sort of having an issue with is the brake sensors. So as you can see, the brake unit here is quite wide. The only flat part that I have to mount it really is the back side. But as you can see, where you'd put the magnet would be quite far away from the sensor. So I'm not sure if that's actually going to work. So I guess I'm going to have to give it a try, because you got quite a gap there between where the magnet rests and where the actual sensor is. The other option would be to go forward here and then put it here, but it's about the same distance, so it's really not in a place where I can get it really close to the magnet. So I'm worried that the magnet is going to not be close enough, and then it will always disengage the motor. So we'll have to try that one out and see how that works. I'm thinking that you're going to probably need some sort of a mounting pad or something to go on there in order to bring the magnet closer, so that when you activate the brake, it's going to move away from the magnet and trip the sensor. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, quite clearly the distance of the brake sensor to the magnets was not going to be good enough. So what I did was I got a plastic standoff thing from a turntable, a cue-up lever thing that I have for my record player, to lift the arm up afterwards, and this is kind of one of the spacers that came with it. So it was made out of good quality plastic, so I cut it in half, and using the double-sided tape here, I taped on one side, and as you can see here, I've rigged a little standoff, and what I'm going to do is put the magnet right there, and then the magnet sensor right across there, so that it'll be lined up perfectly with the sensor. So it looks pretty sturdy, that double-sided tape. I guess I'll have to just be careful with it, and we'll see how that holds up under use. So we'll do that to the other side over here, and we'll see how that works. So quite clearly they need, I think they need to have some little foam spacers or some sort of hard plastic spacers to compensate for the fact that not all brake levers are the same. So you can see when the brake activates, it'll just bring the magnet away from the sensor. So we'll see how that does. That might be one little interesting thing that they could throw in the box for the next customer, and we'll see how it operates. Alright, not only did I double-sided tape it to the post, and I thought just for a little added rigidity I would zip strap it. So still a little bit loose. I've got some needle nose pliers downstairs. I'll grab them and cinch it up a little bit tighter. So that way on each side that post won't fall off, hopefully. And what I'll do is I'll probably use a bit of I don't know, adhesive or something like that to just tack it to the side there just so it doesn't slip off. And there you go. My post for the brake sensor is complete on both sides, as you can see. A little bit of policing the area, and my missing screws for the seat case holder were found. They were in a pretty obscure little package like that. Anyway, it's there, so what we'll do is we'll assemble that, and we'll cut the package, or cut the case open for the wires, and then you can see how it will come together. So a good recommendation while doing one of these kits, of course, is to police your area. I'm doing this in a messy laundry room, so it's no surprise that pieces and parts go missing. I do have some extra parts that I see so far. One is, I thought it was a spacer, but that's actually I guess it's not like an O-ring, but it is like an O-ring for the motor. So if you use the caliper style brakes instead of the disc brakes, this actually prevents the water or moisture from getting into the hub if you don't have the disc brakes. So that's an extra piece that has to come off. I learned that lesson quite well. This thing, I have no idea what it is, where it goes. It's in the box, and so I'm reluctant to toss it out for fear of tossing out a critical component. And then I've got some of these handlebar spacers, extra ones I guess they gave us. What I would suggest though for EBikeBC or EBikeBC in the future is things like extra spacers for the wheel hubs, and I would think that a couple of extra magnets, despite the fact that I think I've got a good working arrangement here. If you can see now, I've got it all hooked up. I still have to cinch tight the zip straps on this, but you can actually see on the front part is my jury rigged magnet holder, but I could see, you know, with heavy use, maybe one of those things would fall off, or the double-sided tape would let go. So there you can see it actually butts right up against the sensor, so it is a good little system so far. So we'll see how it stands the test of time, but I would think that extra magnets would be in order in case you lose one. They'd probably be kind of difficult and hard to find in that size. Alright, I got this all snapped in. You can see the attachment there as per the manual and the online video on how to do it. And what I did was I cut a little hole in there for the wires to come through. And I'm halfway through my wiring job. So you got the vertical wires coming up the seat tube there, and then you've got all of these wires bundled up. And I'll put a little bit of tape on there just to make sure it doesn't unravel. And then I'll have this all tiddlied up along the side here. It goes into the seat and into the controller, which you see down here, which I've got to disconnect in order to stuff all the wires in. So it's coming along. It's nice and sleek and streamlined. What I may do is put a little cage up here, just in the event that, you know, I knock it over or whatever, that the expensive part, which is the computer brains there, doesn't, or the display, I guess the computer brains are down there, just to make sure that it doesn't get trashed or whatever. So that'll be a DIY mod for a little later. Use some stock wire or something like that. So there you go, it's coming along. This is day 2. So we did run into that little hiccup about the hub, but I think I've got that rectified. We'll see how she flashes up once I get all the wires bundled in and packaged into the seat over there, in the seat case. I got it all together. Got everything tucked in the pouch in the back there. I still have room for my saddlebags, which I need to carry my stuff to work with. Got a little bit of a light going on here. There's my digital display. And the last thing I have to do is put on the Dolphin battery and do a checkout, see if the thing works. So I'll go through the quick launch thing on the display thing, computer, and see if I can make this thing go. Back is on, locked in place, power is on. I hit the power up button, and look at that. I think I can't remember how to. Oh, there we go. Can't remember how to do the backlight, but I'll figure that out. And I'll put a coat on and go outside and see if I can make this thing work. I'm hoping the settings are good right out of the box, but we'll see. Anyway, it's dark outside, so I won't be able to film, but I'll just see if it'll go for a rip and come back and make a comment. I figured out one thing for certain, that you can barely read the controls here, and I thought I had it on correctly, but it's actually upside down. So one of the first things you read on the manual is how to turn on the backlight on your display. And lo and behold, it says push the up arrow, so I pushed the up arrow and held it, and then my bike tried to take off on me. Good thing I had a good grip on it. I'm not trusting this thing yet. Anyway, so it's upside down, so I ended up having to hold the down arrow in order to, which is really the up arrow, I just have it on upside down, in order to prevent the bike from, and I held it really good, but lo and behold, the backlight came on. So, step one, make sure that this is upside down, so you can barely, even in this light, and I've got a good fluorescent light in my, that's why I'm working in this room, is because I got good fluorescence. But you can see that the power button has a little bar on it, that goes up. So, one for the manual, guys. Make sure that that's actually absolutely clear, or put a little up arrow or something on here, like maybe a green and a red or something, just to differentiate what's up and what's down for those that are symbol challenged like me. So, and it started pulling, so I'm thinking the motor's going to work, so that's a positive sign. I got the power controller figured out. Now you can actually see my CAN nav, Canadian Naval Modification, so you can see, I don't know, you can see the lever there. So if you look up on the display here, right there, you should see, there you go. Brake is actually killing the motor, supposedly. And then the other brake over here, and look at that. Seems to be working good. And that is back brake, and front brake seems to be working good too. So there you have it. Brakes check out. Holy frickin' crap. It works really good. Yeah, and it's easy to use. So I went out and did a burn. It's quite cold outside. It's 0 degrees right now. But I went for a rip around the block, of course, with my lights on and everything. And I mean, as soon as the throttle was a little thing to get used to, because I guess it bypasses any pedaling or pedal assist or whatever. And then I sort of went up and down through 1 to 4. I didn't go to 5. Actually, only 1 to 3. And you know, you pedal and you just feel it pull away on you. So you still get that pedaling action. It's I'm uber impressed. So it works. I'm a happy camper. I do have some suggestions, comments, and recommendations. And what I'll do is I'll put down a list and sort of do a post build wrap up. Here I'm going to shift it to the other way here. So I think it's going to be a little bit of an exercise in tweaking here. One of the things that I noticed right off the bat, and that's why I sort of discovered the throttle. I wasn't even planning on using the throttle, but make sure everything's off here. Yeah, all the power's off and everything. Because with the width of the grip and the throttle being right there, I can't pull this all the way up. There's some space limitations because of the wire coming out the back end, so I can't get it any closer to that. So it's sort of a long reach in order to get over to your gear shifter here, which of course I was pedaling at night, so I was actually bumping into that, and it was giving me some little shots of speed when I was trying to reach for that. So what I'm going to do, because I'm going to be mostly doing the pedal mode, is I'm going to cant this further up, maybe almost vertically, so I can just pull it back if I need to. But that way the natural tendency to go for your brakes and your gear shifter, the throttle isn't going to get away, because usually, you know, you don't want to be goosing it when you're trying to shift brakes. So that's just a little thing that I'll have to play around with until I get it to the way I like it. And on this side, you know, everything seemed to be operating good. I have no complaints there. Brakes kick in as soon as you stop pedaling. The motor stops pulling, which is good. And I am really, really, really impressed with my first little rip. I went around the block. And yeah, I like it. So good job, boys. EBikeBC, I have to say that their service support was excellent. They have some parts that they are going to be sending me, because I had to jury rig some parts for the and this is where I'll make a little list of recommendations. And cleaning up the manual, what I may do is, because I've done a lot of reviews of manuals, I may just do a markup of their manual and say, here are some areas where you guys can maybe improve things. But on the whole, I would not bank on this being a 1 hour job. I would bank on it being a 2-day job, and if you do it in 1 hour, super bonus. I doubt you will, but you know, I'm sure there's many mechanics out there that will prove me wrong. You know, if you're an average Joe guy that doesn't really know bikes all that well, the only bike I knew was my 1100 and V-Star. So this thing even pulls a little bit like a motorcycle. So very cool. I'm going to try and drive it to work tomorrow. And tomorrow being Wednesday. And that'll be a real test, because I'm going to go some distance. So, more to follow. All right, epilogue. It is now Wednesday evening. I've got my first commute under my belt, and I got to say, it was, even though it's really cold, I think it was -2 or whatever when I kicked off this morning, and it wasn't much warmer. I think it probably went up to 2 or 3 degrees or whatever, but a vicious wind. So I got about 21 kilometers return. Well, 21 kilometers, it was like half that, so 10 and a half or whatever it is. Kilometers each way, because I dropped the dog off today, so I didn't do the full commute from home to work. I just kind of went to a park and ride, but it was the major hilly part that I had to bike in, and man, really great product. Anyway, so I did experience some trials and tribulations with the setup, and it's just because I'm not a super mechanical guy. I'm more of a computer geek and electronics kind of guy. But anyway, I do a little bit of tinkering with changing oil and stuff in vehicles and whatnot. But so I consider myself a very average guy as far as technical know-how when it comes to mechanical things. So if I can do this, I think anybody can. As I mentioned previously in a previous clip, I wouldn't bank on this being an hour job. I'd bank it on it being a 2-day job, and then anything sooner than that you get it completed as a bonus. So yeah, if you're not impatient, and I was probably a little bit impatient just because I had a new toy and I wanted to play with it, but half the fun is actually building the darn thing. So no complaints. One of the sort of things, the shortcomings, and it's not really a shortcoming, it's just the fact that you don't rely on the fact that the kit has everything. I mean, it has most everything that you need. One of the things that they can't factor for, and I empathize with a company that's trying to make everybody happy, is the fact that, every bike out there is different. They have all different kinds of shifters and bits and bobs and stuff like that are pretty hard, even though they use standard, like mine as a 700C wheel. There are things that you have to sort of jimmy and rig up in order to make the thing fit. So there is a certain amount of DIY, I call it, do-it-yourself kind of aspect to it. One of them was for the brake levers that I showed you previously. So you do need a little bit of mechanical skills, know-how, and how to put everything together and tiddly everything up, especially. And one of the big things is, of course, policing your area and keeping a nice, neat working area, which I found was, I was losing little bits and pieces because in my excitement I ripped into everything and tore everything apart, and then of course everything gets mislaid, and so you have to be well organized to get through something like this in a timely fashion. Extra parts, I would recommend things like those little teeny itty bitty magnets. I because it's double-sided tape that's really holding them on. Once you get into the cold weather and expansion, heat and contraction, or cooling and contraction, I could see some of the tape wearing off over time and you losing those kinds of things. So it'd be nice to have a few extras in the kit just in case you drop one. In fact, I dropped one and it kind of almost went under the washing machine. That would have been a chore getting it out. The other thing is zip straps. I mean, they had a bare minimum of zip straps. Luckily, I DJ on the side and I got a million friggin' zip clips around. But you do need a little bit more than what was in the kit to properly fasten down the lines so that they're not hanging and drooping and whatnot. So other than those minor comments, and then of course the manual and the video, the intro video or the install video online, for whatever reason, I guess it's because people have short attention spans, and I challenge anybody to get through this video. It's when you're playing with these things, you want to refer back to it and all that sort of stuff. The fact that it's at fast forward motion, you can really easily miss things like that little plug part that goes behind the disc, for if you have the caliper brakes, and it prevents water from getting in. I had thought that was just a gasket that you kept on, and that's what was giving me the problem with the binding of the front motor wheel. It wasn't until I actually talked to support that I figured that out. I'm sure it's probably written, just very briefly in the manual or whatever, and it's actually showed very, very briefly if you watch the video. So I didn't pick up on that. So obviously contacting the support helped me sort that one out. I have to comment on the patience of the support staff. These guys are working odd hours and on their own time and everything, and So I have to say, in the Navy, we say Bravo Zulu, which means a job well done. You guys, so far, I think you've made a good product. After my first long commute in the cold today, the thing held up very well. I was scooting all around the military base, and people were stopping and asking me questions and saying, "Hey, front hub, why is that?" And anyway, they were all pretty stoked about the thing. So, as am I. So, I may do another review video down the line after I've had it for a while, just to see, endurance-wise, how's it hold up over time, and everyday use and that sort of thing. Is it, are parts going to break, that sort of thing. So I may do something like that maybe a month or so down the line. But until then, I got to say, one happy customer here. Good job, EBikeBC. I recommend this product to anybody that's looking for, easing their commute. For me, it was not so much the, it was really to battle a horrible commute with the Colwood crawl we have out here. Sometimes it takes me an hour just sitting in a car to get to work. Even with my scooter, my wife's scooter, or my old motorcycle, you still have to wait in traffic. With the e-bike, we've got all kinds of wonderful walking trails around Victoria, BC here, all of which allow e-bikes to roam freely on. And all the way to work and back, I don't even have to go on the roadways. I can do it by trail all the way, and now my commute is half, if not a third of what it was a day or so ago. So I can see this thing saving a whole bunch of time in my life, and plus you get out there and get a little bit of exercise as well. So thanks for watching. Any questions, just send me a little thing in the comments below, and I'll do what I can to answer. Thanks a lot.